Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today. We're about to dive into a fascinating exploration of communication, influence, and interchange. The course outline you'll see covers applied NLP techniques, which are powerful tools for personal and professional growth. Over the next sessions, we'll look at how these techniques can transform the way you connect with others and understand yourself. So, let's get started and make this a truly impactful experience. Let's take a closer look at the foundations of applied NLP. This is where we start to understand how language shapes influence and change. The language of influence is about mastering the words and phrases that can guide and inspire others effectively. Building rapport, connection, and trust is absolutely essential. Without these, any communication is likely to fall flat. Managing state and emotional control is key to staying centered and adaptable, especially when conversations become challenging. And finally, reframing and facilitating interchange are powerful tools that help us shift perspectives and foster growth within ourselves and others. All of these elements come together to create a solid base for applying NLP techniques in real-world scenarios. This foundation sets the stage for everything else we'll explore in this journey. Today, we're diving into the foundations of applied NLP, which is the practical side of natural language processing. We'll explore the core concepts that underpin how machines understand and work with human language. It's really about building the skills and knowledge needed to develop real-world NLP applications. These foundations include understanding language data, key techniques like tokenization and parsing, and the importance of context and semantics. By grasping these basics, we're setting ourselves up to create more effective and intelligent NLP solutions. So, let's see how these foundational principles connect to the larger picture of advancing AI and improving communication between humans and machines. Its multidisciplinary roots help explain why NLP is so versatile and effective in areas like therapy, coaching, and personal development. Understanding where it comes from really helps us see how it can be applied across different fields. So, why do the origins of NLP matter? Well, they link together neurological processes, language, and learned behavioral patterns. This connection allows us to understand how people think, speak, and act. It's like looking under the hood of human behavior to see what drives it. The core idea behind NLP was created by Richard Bandler and John Grinder. They developed it by modeling effective communication and change from various disciplines. Their goal was to understand what works and then teach those strategies to others. Back in the 1970s, they laid the foundation for what we now call NLP. It's a fascinating blend of psychology, linguistics, and systems thinking that has evolved to help people improve their lives. So, in essence, NLP's roots are crucial because they give us insight into how human experience works. And that's what makes NLP such a powerful tool for transformation. Let's explore some fundamental NLP assumptions that really shape how we view human behavior and communication. First, there's the idea that there is no failure, only feedback. This means that every outcome we experience offers us valuable information for learning and growth, rather than being a setback. It encourages us to see mistakes as opportunities to adjust and improve. Next, we believe that behavior has a positive intention. Even if someone's actions seem unhelpful or problematic, they are motivated by a purpose or a need. Recognizing this helps us develop empathy and avoid judgment. People have all the resources they need within themselves for change and growth. It's about understanding that the solutions are already inside us. Sometimes, it just takes the right perspective or support to access them. Respecting each person's model of the world is crucial. Everyone perceives and interprets the world differently, and by understanding their perspective, we foster empathy and create more effective connections. Another key point is that the map is not the territory. Our mental models, how we perceive and understand the world, are just maps. They are not reality itself, but our personal representations, which means they can be changed or expanded. Finally, the meaning of communication is the response it elicits. It's not just about what we intend to say, but how others respond to our words and actions. Effective communication depends on the impact we make, not just our intention. All these assumptions work together to create a flexible, resourceful approach to understanding and influencing human behavior. They remind us that change is always possible, and that our perceptions and responses are key to that process. Let's explore what we mean by subjective reality. Essentially, each person's experience of the world is unique. It's not just about the external facts, but how we interpret and construct our reality based on our internal filters. These filters are shaped by our beliefs, our language, and the sensory input we receive from our environment. Now, when we talk about representational systems, we're referring to the different ways people process and encode information. For example, some individuals are more kinesthetic, meaning they primarily experience feelings, sensations, and movement. Their memories are often tied to physical touch, emotions, or body positions. Others are more auditory. They process information through sounds, tones, and language. These individuals might remember conversations vividly or have a rich internal dialogue. Then we have visual thinkers, who encode information through images, colors, and spatial awareness. Their memories often come as pictures or visual scenes. Understanding these differences is crucial in NLP because it shows us how subjective reality is constructed differently by each person. It helps us grasp why people might respond differently to the same situation and allows us to tailor communication more effectively. In essence, NLP models subjective reality by recognizing that everyone filters and perceives the world through their unique representational system. This awareness is key to developing better understanding and connection. Now, moving on to the final key point in this sequence, which is replication and feedback. Once we have developed and applied our model, it's crucial to test it through practical use and gather feedback. This step helps us refine the model, ensuring that it accurately captures the expert performance we're aiming to replicate. By continuously testing and adjusting based on real-world results and input from others, we can improve the model's effectiveness and reliability. This iterative process is essential for successful replication, as it allows us to make data-driven improvements that enhance learning outcomes and skill transfer. Remember, the goal is not just to create a model, but to develop a robust, adaptable tool that can be reliably applied and improved over time. All right, let's focus on one change at a time, whether it's someone's face, voice, or body language, and observe how that shift might reflect their feelings or intentions. After noticing these cues, it's helpful to check in with a neutral question to ensure understanding. This approach not only improves our interpretation skills, but also strengthens rapport and communication overall. Research shows that when we become more aware of sensory cues, like microexpressions, tone shifts, packing, posture, or gestures, we can better sense what others are really conveying. These subtle visual, auditory, and kinesthetic signals are powerful indicators of emotion or intent. What's important to remember is that heightened sensory awareness enhances our ability to read these cues accurately, which in turn leads to more effective interactions. So, practicing this kind of sensory acuity can really transform how we connect with others and foster stronger, more genuine communication. Let's talk about the core ethical principles that underpin responsible NLP. At the heart of this is respecting the client's autonomy. That means ensuring they have full control over their choices and understanding what they're engaging in. Obtaining informed consent is crucial, making sure clients know what the process involves, the methods used, and any limits or boundaries beforehand. The goal here is empowerment and positive change, not manipulation. We want our clients to feel confident and informed every step of the way. Moving on to practice guidelines, ethical standards emphasize transparency, being open about our techniques and avoiding hidden influences. Accountability is also key. We need to be responsible for the outcomes of our work. Confidentiality protects the client's privacy, and cultural sensitivity ensures we respect diverse backgrounds and perspectives. Whether we're coaching, therapy, or working in a business context, these standards help us maintain credibility and safeguard both ourselves and our clients. Finally, I want to highlight how real-world examples can deepen our understanding. For instance, gaining consent in therapeutic reframing, respecting boundaries in executive coaching, or avoiding undue pressure in sales situations. All these scenarios illustrate the importance of ethical decision-making. By examining these examples, we can better recognize potential risks and make responsible choices that uphold our ethical commitments. Today is March 22, 2026, and we're diving into the fascinating topic of the language of influence. This slide highlights how the words and phrases we choose can significantly impact our ability to persuade and connect with others. Remember, influence isn't just about what you say, but how you say it and the language you use. The key points here are that effective influence relies on understanding your audience, choosing your words carefully, and aligning your message with their values and needs. These concepts are essential because they tie back to the overall theme of building trust and rapport. By mastering the language of influence, you'll be better equipped to inspire action and foster meaningful relationships. So, keep in mind that the words you use are powerful tools. Use them intentionally to shape perceptions and drive positive outcomes. Now, let's look at slide 11, which focuses on the difference between surface and deep structure in language analysis. First, under applications. Deep, we see that understanding deep structure is essential for uncovering hidden beliefs, resolving conflicts, and facilitating therapeutic change. This means that by analyzing what's beneath the surface, we can get to the core of what someone truly thinks or feels, which is crucial in therapy or counseling. On the other hand, applications. Surface is more about the observable aspects of language, like grammar, vocabulary, and the patterns we can see directly. This is useful for analyzing how someone is expressing themselves on a literal level. Now, to really understand communication, we need to distinguish between deep structure and surface structure. Deep structure refers to the underlying meaning, beliefs, or intentions behind the words. It reveals implicit assumptions and motivations that might not be immediately obvious. Surface structure, however, is simply the literal words and syntax used, the actual language we see on the surface. It's focused on what is explicitly said or written. So, in summary, surface captures the what of communication, while deep reveals the why and the underlying beliefs. Recognizing the difference helps us interpret meaning more accurately and is a key part of many linguistic and therapeutic approaches. Let's explore the three primary representational systems: kinesthetic, auditory, and visual. Starting with kinesthetic, this style relates to touch, movement, and physical sensations. People with a kinesthetic preference learn best through hands-on experiences and often respond well to emotionally expressive language. If you're explaining something to a kinesthetic learner, incorporating physical activities or gestures can make a big difference. Next, we have auditory. This system responds to sounds, spoken words, and tone of voice. Effective communication with auditory learners involves clear speech, rhythmic patterns, and vocal emphasis. They often remember information best when they hear it and benefit from discussions or verbal repetition. Finally, visual learners prefer images, diagrams, and written words. They understand and retain information more effectively when it's presented visually. Using visual cues and descriptive language that paints a picture helps communicate ideas clearly to these learners. Understanding these systems, kinesthetic, auditory, and visual, helps us tailor our teaching and communication strategies. Recognizing each person's preferred way of processing information allows us to connect more effectively and ensure everyone can engage and learn optimally. Let's talk about how matching someone's wording and interaction style can really improve understanding. When we mirror their language, it shows empathy and helps strengthen the bond between us. One effective way to do this is by mirroring their nonverbal signals. Pay attention to their posture, eye movements, voice tempo, and gestures. These cues reveal whether they process information visually, auditorily, or kinesthetically. For example, if someone frequently says words like see, look, or visualize, they likely prefer visual processing. If they use terms like hear, listen, or sounds, they might be more auditory. And if they talk about feeling, touch, or experience, they probably lean kinesthetic. Listening carefully for these language predicates helps us understand their preferred way of processing information. By doing so, we can tailor our communication, making it more effective and relatable. In essence, by observing nonverbal signals and the words people use, we gain valuable insights into their mindset. This awareness allows us to build rapport more easily and communicate more authentically. Let's talk about using these prompts to surface specifics, reduce misunderstandings, and support change. These tools help us get to the heart of the matter and make communication clearer. For example, you might ask for a concrete example to better understand someone's point. When it comes to assumptions, uncovering hidden beliefs is key. Asking, "What leads you to believe this?" can reveal underlying thoughts. Clarifying details involves eliciting specifics, like asking, "What exactly do you mean by that?" to avoid ambiguity. Addressing distortions means questioning misinterpretations. Questions like, "How do you know? What makes you think that?" help challenge assumptions. Deletions refer to missing information, so asking, "Who specifically, what exactly happened?" can fill in gaps. And when broad statements are made, challenging generalizations with questions like, "Always, can you give an example?" keeps the conversation grounded. These metamodel questions are powerful tools in coaching and therapy because they encourage clarity, challenge vague or broad statements, and support problem solving. By using precision language and these prompts thoughtfully, we can create more effective, meaningful conversations that support real change. Now, let's take a closer look at some common linguistic patterns that can influence our communication. First up are mind-reading statements. These are when we assume we know what others are thinking or feeling, like saying, "You don't care about me." It's important to recognize that making such assumptions can lead to misunderstandings because we're interpreting someone else's internal state without clear evidence. Next, we have cause-effect statements. These imply that one event directly causes another, such as saying, "You make me angry," without any real proof of that causality. This kind of language can unfairly place blame and oversimplify complex emotional responses. Then there are nominalizations. These are when we turn actions or processes into nouns, like using the word communication instead of saying to communicate. While nominalizations can make language more abstract, they often obscure who's responsible for what or how things actually happen, which can hinder clarity. All of these patterns, mind reading, cause-effect, and nominalizations, are essential to recognize because they can subtly shape how we interpret conversations. When we understand these patterns, especially in the context of the metamodel, we can ask better questions and clarify meaning. This ultimately helps us communicate more effectively and avoid misunderstandings, which ties back to our overall goal of improving our interpersonal skills and understanding. Now, let's look at the final piece of the puzzle, integration. This is where we monitor our progress and make sure we're reinforcing empowering communication as the norm. It's about consistently checking in on how our new habits are taking hold and ensuring they become part of our everyday interactions. Remember, true change happens when new behaviors are sustained over time. By staying vigilant and supportive, we create an environment where positive communication naturally becomes the default. This integration is what turns insights into lasting transformation, tying everything together and solidifying the new patterns we've been working on. Today, I want to focus on the crucial elements of rapport, connection, and trust. These are the foundation of any successful interaction, whether in sales, leadership, or teamwork. Building rapport means creating a sense of ease and mutual understanding right from the start. It's about finding common ground and making the other person feel comfortable and valued. Connection goes a step further, establishing a genuine bond that makes the conversation more meaningful. When people feel connected, they're more open, engaged, and willing to collaborate. Trust, of course, is the ultimate goal. It's the confidence that you'll be honest, reliable, and respectful. When trust is present, communication flows more smoothly, and relationships become stronger. Throughout this presentation, we've emphasized that these three elements work together to foster effective communication and positive relationships. Remember, the more you invest in building rapport and connection, the easier it becomes to establish trust. And with trust in place, you set the stage for success in any interaction. Now let's talk about synchronizing signals. Rapid rapport really hinges on aligning both what we say and how we say it, our verbal and nonverbal behaviors. When we do this effectively, we create a felt sense of connection that naturally draws people in. From a neuroscience perspective, this idea is grounded in mirror neuron systems. These are the parts of our brain that fire not only when we perform an action, but also when we observe someone else doing it. So, when we mirror or match someone's posture, tone, or pace, we activate those systems, which fosters empathy, builds trust, and supports social attunement. Practically speaking, this means we can subtly match someone's posture, the tone and pace of their speech, and even their vocabulary. The goal here is to engage those unconscious rapport-building mechanisms without it feeling forced or obvious. It's about being respectful and genuine in your approach. So, by consciously using these techniques, we can create instant rapport, making interactions smoother and more connected. This is really the science and art behind building rapport quickly and naturally. Let's take a moment to focus on an essential element of building trust in any relationship, whether personal or professional. Adapted from psychological research on interpersonal relationships, we see that authenticity truly is the cornerstone of trust. When people sense that you're being genuine, that you're expressing yourself honestly, it creates a foundation of openness. This openness encourages others to also be authentic, fostering a cycle of credibility and mutual respect. So the key takeaway here is that when you are authentic, you're not just sharing information, you're building trust. And trust, as we've emphasized throughout this presentation, is vital for strong, effective connections. Remember, genuine expression helps credibility flourish, making your relationships more resilient and meaningful over time. Let's talk about mirroring facial expressions. When someone smiles, you can reflect that by smiling back. It's a subtle way to build rapport and show you're engaged. For example, if they nod in agreement, you might do the same. It creates a sense of connection. Next, matching energy levels is key. Pay attention to their mood and adjust your enthusiasm accordingly. If they're relaxed and calm, use gentle gestures and a softer tone. This helps create a comfortable environment for both of you. Now let's consider mirroring gestures. Subtly copying their posture or hand movements can make your interaction feel more natural. For instance, if they cross their legs, you might do the same shortly after. It's a nonverbal way of saying, "I'm with you." Finally, matching speech patterns involves adjusting your speaking style to align with theirs. If they speak slowly and thoughtfully, slow down your speech too. If they're more animated, match that energy with your tone and pace. All these techniques, mirroring facial expressions, matching energy, gestures, and speech, are powerful tools. They help foster connection and trust, making your communication more effective and authentic. Let's take a moment to consider how much of our communication is actually nonverbal. Research suggests that up to 70% of how effectively we communicate can be attributed to nonverbal channels. That's a significant portion, and it highlights just how important body language really is. When we decode body language, we not only become more sensitive to others, feelings, and intentions, but we also enhance our ability to influence them with credibility. So why does this matter? Well, facial expressions, posture, gestures, and eye contact all convey emotion and attitude, often more quickly and powerfully than words themselves. These signals can give us immediate insight into how someone is really feeling or what they're truly thinking. Some key signals to watch for include facial expressions that reveal genuine emotion, gestures that emphasize or clarify spoken messages, and eye contact that indicates engagement or confidence. Paying attention to these nonverbal cues can significantly improve your interpersonal relationships and your overall communication effectiveness. Remember, mastering nonverbal communication is a vital part of becoming a more impactful and credible communicator. Now, let's talk about the outcome we're aiming for. The goal here is to achieve improved negotiation or coaching results by using dynamic calibration. Essentially, This means adjusting your approach in real time to better connect and communicate effectively. Next, we have the adjustment. This involves modifying your communication style and approach based on the feedback you observe. It's about staying flexible and responsive so that you can maintain rapport, even if the situation or the other person's reactions change. Then there's sensory acuity. This is about using heightened awareness, paying close attention to shifts in tone, body language, and emotional state. By sharpening your senses, you can pick up on subtle cues that tell you a lot about how the other person is feeling or reacting. And of course, observation plays a key role. It's about monitoring these behavioral cues and any changes during the interaction. This real-time feedback is critical because it helps you adjust your responses on the spot, making your communication more effective. Finally, when we talk about calibrating responses, we're referring to how you adapt your behavior based on what you observe. It's this ongoing process of tuning your approach to ensure the interaction remains productive and aligned with your desired outcome. This is the core of effective interpersonal communication and influence. Now, let's look at some adaptive techniques that can help us overcome common barriers to connection. First, when faced with rigid communication, it's important to recognize that inflexibility can really limit how well we connect with others. So, the NLP strategy here is to employ flexible and responsive dialogue, being adaptable in how we communicate to foster genuine engagement. Next, emotional states can pose a significant barrier. When strong emotions take over, they can block rapport and understanding. To navigate this, we use reframing, helping the other person see things differently, and emotional calibration, which means tuning into their emotional cues to create a safe, trusting space. Then, cultural differences often lead to misunderstandings. The key here is practicing cultural sensitivity, being aware of and respectful toward different backgrounds, and adapting our communication styles accordingly. This helps prevent miscommunications and builds mutual respect. Finally, distrust can seriously impede openness and honesty. Building credibility is essential, and we do that by active listening, really paying attention, and by demonstrating consistent, trustworthy behavior over time. All of these strategies are about being adaptable, adjusting our approach to meet the needs of each unique situation, so we can break down barriers and foster stronger, more genuine connections. Today, I want to talk about managing state and emotional control, which is a crucial part of our overall well-being. When we discuss managing state, we're really focusing on how we can intentionally influence our mental and emotional conditions. This includes techniques to stay calm, focused, and positive, especially in challenging situations. Emotional control, on the other hand, is about recognizing our feelings and choosing how to respond rather than reacting impulsively. It's about creating space between the emotion and the action, which allows us to make better decisions. These skills are vital because they help us maintain clarity and resilience, even when external circumstances are tough. They also tie directly into the overall theme of this presentation, building strength from within and mastering ourselves. By practicing these strategies consistently, we can better manage stress, improve our relationships, and stay aligned with our goals. Remember, it's not about suppressing emotions, but about understanding and guiding them effectively. Let's take a closer look at the neuroscience link here. Essentially, this research shows us how emotional regulation isn't just about feeling better in the moment, but it actually connects to our cognitive performance and overall well-being. When we're able to manage our emotions effectively, our brains function more efficiently, which can improve focus, decision-making, and mental resilience. Moving on to NLP recognition, this involves techniques that help us identify triggers and patterns in our behavior. Recognizing these triggers is crucial because it allows us to understand what sets off certain emotional responses and how those responses tend to repeat over time. Next, we have behavioral patterns. These are the observable actions and reactions that stem from our emotional states. For example, someone might withdraw when feeling anxious or become more assertive when confident. Paying attention to these behaviors helps us see the link between emotions and actions. Then there are physiological patterns. These are the physical changes that happen in our bodies, like shifts in heart rate, breathing, or muscle tension, that are associated with different emotions. Recognizing these signs can give us early clues about our emotional state. External triggers are environmental factors, social interactions, or specific events that influence how we feel. For instance, a stressful meeting or a supportive compliment can significantly impact our emotions. Internal triggers, on the other hand, come from within, thoughts, memories, or physical sensations that spark emotional responses. Sometimes, a memory or a physical feeling can trigger a strong emotional reaction without any external event happening. All of these factors, internal and external stimuli, combine to shape our physiology and behavior. Emotional states arise from this complex interplay, and understanding these triggers and patterns is key. NLP emphasizes that these pattern loops are often repeatable, meaning once we recognize them, we can work to change the cycle. Meanwhile, neuroscience shows us that when we learn to regulate our emotions effectively, it leads to stronger cognition and better overall well-being. So, by understanding emotional triggers and patterns, we gain the tools to manage our responses better, improve our mental clarity, and support our overall health. This is a fundamental part of the overall theme, using science and practical techniques to enhance emotional intelligence and resilience. So the key here is to rehearse daily when you're already feeling steady. This creates a strong foundation. Then, before high-stakes moments, you use a specific cue to quickly access that confident or calm state. It's about building a connection through consistent practice. With repetition, this cue becomes a conditioned trigger. Essentially, it helps you modulate your mood and performance when it really counts. Now, why does this work? It's based on classical conditioning, pairing a vivid, confident, or calm memory with a physical cue that you can repeat. Over time, that cue becomes a reliable trigger to bring you into the right mental state on demand. And that's what anchoring is all about, using a specific physical action or cue to anchor your confidence or calmness. It's a powerful tool to help you perform at your best, especially under pressure. Now, let's look at the final steps in designing effective anchors. First, we want to integrate them into our routine. This means using the anchor in daily life to manage stress or foster personal growth, making it a natural part of our day. Next, it's important to test accessibility, check whether the anchor reliably triggers the desired state across different situations. Consistency is key here. Then, we should repeat and reinforce the use of the anchor by practicing regularly, which helps strengthen the mental connection. Applying the anchor at emotional peaks is also crucial. Activating it when you're at the height of an emotional experience maximizes its impact. Lastly, ensure you associate your anchor with a peak state, a strong positive emotion or mental state, to make it more effective. Remember, choosing a unique stimulus, like a specific sound, gesture, or object, helps distinguish your anchor from everyday stimuli. By following these steps, you can effectively design and embed anchors into your life for lasting change. Let's talk about how to interrupt unhelpful cycles. Techniques like pattern interrupts are really powerful because they can disrupt automatic emotional or behavioral loops before they get out of control. The idea here is to step in and change the pattern before it escalates into something more intense. Next, we have redirecting and reframing. This is about shifting attention and introducing new perspectives, helping to replace negative or unresourceful states with ones that are more helpful and resourceful. It's like changing the station in your mind to a better frequency. And there's solid evidence backing this up. Cognitive behavioral studies show that interrupting these maladaptive responses actually helps with emotional regulation. When we explain specific methods of interruption and share real case examples, it deepens understanding and makes these strategies more concrete and applicable. So, pattern interrupts and reframing are essential tools for gaining control over our emotional states and behaviors, especially when we feel stuck or overwhelmed. They help us create space for more constructive responses and ultimately greater emotional resilience. Now, let's look at this compelling data point, a 23% performance improvement. This figure highlights just how powerful it can be when athletes actively manage their resourceful states, especially under pressure. Essentially, when athletes are aware of their mental and emotional resources and learn to harness them effectively, they perform significantly better in high-stress situations. This ties directly into our broader theme of mental resilience and strategic mental management. By cultivating these resourceful states, athletes can turn pressure into an advantage rather than a hindrance. It's a clear reminder that mental skills are just as critical as physical training in achieving peak performance. Now, let's talk about goal alignment. When we connect our state management techniques with clear objectives, it really boosts our motivation and helps us stay engaged over the long haul. Having that sense of purpose makes it easier to push through challenges and stay focused. Next, anchoring. This is all about using sensory cues, like a particular touch or a sound, that can trigger a desired state. Think of it as creating a mental shortcut to access peak performance quickly whenever you need it. It's a powerful tool for staying prepared and confident. Then we have breathing control. Regulating our breath is a simple yet incredibly effective way to calm our nervous system. When we focus on our breath, it improves our focus, helps us manage emotions better, and keeps us centered, especially in high-pressure moments. Finally, visualization. Mentally rehearsing success scenarios primes our brain for real performance. By picturing ourselves succeeding, we reduce anxiety and build confidence. It's like training the mind to expect success, which ultimately supports our overall performance. All these techniques, when integrated, create a strong foundation for managing our state and achieving peak performance. Today, I want to focus on how we can approach change from a different perspective, specifically, reframing and facilitating inner change. As we think about growth, it's not just about external adjustments, but also about transforming our internal mindset and beliefs. Reframing is a powerful tool here. It involves shifting how we perceive challenges or setbacks, turning them into opportunities for learning and development. This change in perspective can make a huge difference in how we approach our goals. Facilitating inner change means creating a supportive environment, both within ourselves and in our interactions, that encourages growth. It's about guiding ourselves or others through the process, helping to uncover underlying beliefs that may be holding us back, and gently shifting those beliefs to foster positive change. When we combine reframing with facilitation, we're not just pushing for change, we're guiding it thoughtfully and intentionally. This aligns with our overall theme of sustainable transformation, knowing that real change starts from within, and with the right mindset, we can unlock new potential and create lasting progress. Let's take a closer look at the different types of beliefs that shape our mindset and behaviors. First, we have conflicted beliefs. These are the beliefs that generate mixed emotions and often lead to inconsistent behaviors. They create internal tension, making it hard to decide or act decisively because we're pulled in different directions mentally and emotionally. Next, we have neutral beliefs. These are beliefs that don't really stir up much emotion. They tend to be routine or habitual, things we believe that don't significantly impact how we feel or behave on a day-to-day basis. They're the default settings that keep us moving forward without much thought. Then there are limiting beliefs. These are particularly impactful because they trigger negative emotions and often restrict us. They can hold us back from taking action or trying new things, leading to avoidance or stagnation. Recognizing these is crucial if we want to grow. Finally, we have empowering beliefs. These are the beliefs that lift us up. They foster positive emotions and encourage proactive behavior. They support our motivation and help us pursue growth and success with confidence. When we map our belief systems, understanding these different types becomes essential. It helps us identify which beliefs are helping us and which might be holding us back from reaching our full potential. Recognizing this is a key step in transforming our mindset and, ultimately, our results. Let's explore this slide about a powerful tool validated by cognitive behavioral therapy. It's called cognitive restructuring, and it can really help reduce distress and improve how we approach problems. The key idea here is that by widening our perspective, we can see things differently and find more effective solutions. Now, why does this work? Well, reframing changes the way we interpret a situation. Instead of seeing it in a negative or limiting way, we can shift the meaning to something more empowering. This new perspective helps us feel more in control and capable of handling challenges. So, what exactly is reframing? It's all about shifting meaning and perspective. By doing so, we change the context of a situation, which can open up new ways of thinking and responding. This simple but powerful change can make a big difference in how we experience stress and solve problems. Remember, this technique is a core part of cognitive behavioral therapy because it provides us with a practical way to reshape our thoughts and emotional responses. It's about taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture, and choosing a more constructive way to interpret what's happening around us. Now, let's look at the impact of transforming limiting beliefs. We've seen reported improvements such as a 35% boost in confidence, 28% in motivation, and a 22% enhancement in behavioral outcomes. These numbers really highlight how powerful changing our beliefs can be. When we work on shifting these mental barriers, we not only feel better but also see tangible results in our actions and mindsets. Remember, the overall goal here is to create lasting change that influences every part of our lives. So, by tracking these impacts, we can stay motivated and recognize the progress we're making along the way. Let's talk about goal alignment first. It's really about making sure your self-talk supports your personal goals. When your inner dialogue is in sync with what you're aiming for, it naturally boosts your motivation and helps you perform at your best. Next, consistency is key. Practicing empowering self-talk regularly isn't just a one-time thing. It's about creating a habit that reinforces resilience and helps regulate your emotions over time. The more you do it, the stronger your mental resilience becomes. Reframing is a powerful tool. It involves systematically replacing negative thoughts with positive, constructive statements. Instead of dwelling on what's going wrong, you focus on what you can do differently or better, which shifts your mindset to a more productive place. Awareness ties everything together. Recognizing and observing your internal dialogue helps you identify those triggers that lead to negative self-talk. When you're aware of these patterns, you gain the ability to intervene and steer your thoughts in a more positive direction. Finally, all these elements, building awareness, reframing, practicing regularly, and aligning with your goals, come together in empowering self-talk. By noticing your inner dialogue, reframing negative thoughts, practicing consistently, and aligning them with your goals, you build resilience and foster a more positive, empowering mindset that supports your overall growth and success. Let's talk about the importance of consistent practice. Sustained change really depends on engaging in regular self-reflection and mindfulness. By doing this, we reinforce new patterns over time, turning those insights into routines that become second nature. Now, to support this ongoing effort, maintenance strategies like journaling, coaching, and peer support groups are incredibly helpful. They add structure, accountability, and reinforcement, especially during times when motivation might dip. Empirical reinforcement is also key. Longitudinal studies show that practical, ongoing reinforcement not only helps maintain change, but also increases its durability. It keeps us engaged by providing measurable progress, which is motivating. Overall, describing sustainable change practices with solid empirical support encourages continued learner engagement. When we see proven methods working, we're more likely to stay committed to our development journey. Now, as we wrap up, I want to emphasize that change through practice is really about managing our emotional states, supporting inner transformation, and maintaining ethics to create lasting impact. When we do this, our influence becomes more genuine and sustainable. Building trust quickly is also crucial. We do this by strengthening rapport through active listening, packing, leading, and aligning respectfully with others. It's about creating a connection that feels natural and authentic, making it easier to influence and collaborate. Speaking of influence, the power of language cannot be overstated. Applying specific language patterns helps us communicate more clearly, persuasively, and with integrity. It's about choosing our words carefully to inspire understanding and action. And underlying all of this are the core NLP foundations. These are key concepts and models that help us understand how language, perception, and behavior are interconnected. They give us the tools to decode others' experiences and shape our interactions effectively. So, in conclusion, applying NLP techniques thoughtfully can truly foster personal growth, enhance communication, and lead to meaningful change. That's the essence of what we've explored throughout this journey.